Good evening, everyone. It is now 6 p.m. and the December 2nd City Council meeting will come to order. Tonight's invocation is presented by Council Member Frank Bankert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let us bow our heads. Dear God, our Heavenly Father, let us pray that this council will make wise and godly decisions which are always in the best interest of this community and your people. Let us pray that you will protect our police and all first responders and the people of Bel Air Beach. Let us pray that you will protect and restore man's portion of your beautiful masterpiece of this island and protect us from any future storms or mishaps. And let us pray that all your people find peace with one another, set aside their differences, and promote and glorify your name. In Jesus' name, your Son, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Now please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Renee, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Frank Bankert.
Present.
Councilmember Lloyd Roberts.
Here.
Councilmember Anders Wellings.
Present.
Councilmember Todd Harper.
Present.
Councilmember Jody Shirley.
I think she's muted.
I see her.
Okay. Councilmember. Okay. Councilmember Kim Shaw Elliott.
Now unmuted, present.
Okay, all right, great. Did you call those?
You're right. I missed it. Mayor Dave Gaddis.
Here.
City Manager Kyle Riefler.
Here.
And City Attorney Randy Mora.
Present.
Thank you, Renee. Our first order of business is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion is made by Frank Bankert. Do I have a second?
Second.
Who said that? Mr. Harper. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, the agenda is approved. Next, we have presentations from the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, beginning with the monthly law enforcement report.
Good evening, Council Mayor. My name is Sergeant John Shields with Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. I have the stats for the month of October. And they just disappeared on me. Let's see. Can you just pull them in? Apologize for that. So in the month of October 2024, within the city of Bel Air Beach, we had one larceny, which appears to be 2 electric bikes that were stolen from the side of the residence. We had 9 arrests within the city. They are broken down for you in your stats for the month. In the month of October, within the city of Bel Air, we had 412 events responding. We had 608 units responding towards those calls for service. And they are broken down also in your stats there. And we had 1 vehicle crash, and that location was 2504 Bayshore Drive. It was on a Thursday within the city. We had a total of 121 citations and or warnings that were issued within the city limits within the month of October. They are broken down. The majority of those, I believe, were traffic violations that were from people from out of town responding to locations to the city within the for the storms. And so that's going to be the stats for the month of October for your city. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Sergeant. Do we have any questions? I actually don't have a question. Instead, I should have called the sheriff myself, but I want it known that whenever we have a storm event like we do, the mayor and staff should be able to come back. And I was one of the fortunate ones. I was able to cross the bridge. They made some radio calls. I believe it went all the way to Sheriff Bob, and they got me on board. But I heard from other communities that they were not allowed on up to several days. So I'd love it if everyone could just come right back. But there was work that needed to be done. We needed to set up the facilities for shelter, for a place for relief, cool down stations, food, water, and all sorts of supplies. And had he not let me cross that bridge, none of that would have happened immediately. It would have taken days. So I'm grateful that he let me on, but other communities were not in the same shape as we were.
And I don't want to speak for him, obviously, but there was a lot of safety concerns for multiple days after the storms. That would hinder people's safety coming back in, thinking, oh, they'll be okay. We have a lot of electrical issues that happened. People flipped breakers on and then caught houses on fire. There was a lot of downed power lines, a lot of safety concerns, a lot of chemicals in the standing water. So I can obviously understand and reserve to that, but yes, I'm sure.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Mayor, just wondering, at the Bel Air Shores meeting, you made a remark, how many days you guys were held without a day off?
Well, we have two shifts. We have an alpha shift and a Bravo shift. I currently work Bravo shift, night shift. I think we worked 16 days straight without a day off.
And we appreciate that.
I know you guys do. I appreciate you guys very much for saying so. That's kind of what we signed up for. We have our own families, our own homes to take care of, but we knew this getting into law enforcement, and that's what the sheriff and cities and citizens asked for, and that's what we
And
respond.
how many hours a day do you put in for a shift?
Well, on paper, 12.
That's what I'm saying. So you just went, you were here and went home to sleep. So
Yes, sir.
you couldn't take care of your own things.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for saying so.
Any other questions, comments? No? All right, thank you, Sergeant. I
Thank you.
appreciate
Have a good
you.
evening.
Thank you.
All right, now we're on to the monthly code enforcement report with Deputy Trump.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm Deputy Richard Trump. I'm your code enforcement officer. As you know, I'm usually a month ahead of the reports and everything else, so I'm actually working on this last month of November. So for the month of November, we had several entries, but it was a little bit slower now that things are starting to get a little bit better out here in the city. I'm glad to see that the streets are getting cleaned up. We still have a couple of issues out there, a couple of the houses that still have debris out there, and we are working diligently trying to get that resolved and taken care of and picked up. So as far as my stats and everything else, one of the biggest things I probably hit this month was temporary signage. As I'm sure everybody has seen, we have seen the little temporary signs stuck in the road, the right-of-ways, all over the place. And they are now all stacked up in my office here at the city and everything else, and we have quite a few of them. So, but with that, I myself just this month made 12 stops, and I think I collected over 150 signs. So other enforcement, which includes crash scenes, meetings, keep the peace, training, light nuisance call that we had that we took care of, suspicious persons, and a 9/11 hang-up. That usually is something that we just don't have exact stats for. So other than that, we have dangerous structures. We have a couple of blank properties that we are working on. One actually I visited today again, and we are diligently trying to get a hold of the owner for that one, who happens to live in another country over in England. But Kyle is working diligently trying to send out letters. We're trying to do tracks. It was a leased property, and unfortunately, the girl that was in there leasing abandoned the property, and she will not call us back. We've done everything we can in order to try and track her down, and she's not on the wing, but we are trying to get the structure secured as much as we possibly can, and we're trying to work diligently on trying to get a hold of the owner so that we can get something done about that one. The other property was a property that basically had fire then flood damage, and that one is slowly being taken care of by the family. So we're getting that one taken care of. And the last one on that one was a large, huge piece of dock debris that was floating up against a couple of docks. And I actually got the message back from FWC, basically will oversee that with their debris removal. The Marine unit came out, we were able to remove it from the person's dock and secure it to actually one of the city park docks temporarily. And then the debris removal, they came out and they picked it up and they were able to get that out of there. One fence issue, basically the fence was placed or put up the wrong way with the good side in. We took care of that, that was pretty easy. One RV that we know that we're allowing RVs in the homes, so people have temporary residence, if you want to put it that way right now. We had one RV that unfortunately had construction workers staying in there. So we were able to get a hold of the owner, get a hold of the home, get hold of the owner of the RV, and we rectified that one right off the bat, got that out of there. So I was able to do 4 beach enforcements with no issues out on the beach right now. I myself did 4 traffic stops. We have an unmaintained pool that we are working on getting a hold of the owner and getting that rectified because that one was in pretty poor shape. One unpermitted remodel, which I'm going to kind of get into. As we progress here, now that we are 2 or 3 months after the hurricanes, we are going to become a little more aggressive as far as the unpermitted remodels with the contractors going in there and doing work, and we are going to be looking more for the contractors that are unlicensed, the ones that are not getting permits, and we're working with the county also. County went out today with me on one property that I addressed last week, and we're overseeing that because that an unlicensed contractor in that home. But we are slowly getting that rectified and knowing what these unlicensed contractors can do, what they can't do, and making sure that the proper permits are being addressed for those places. Clutter in yard, just basically is what I talked about before. We have a couple of residents out there that still have a large amount of debris for some reason in the yards that did not get picked up. So we're trying to work with getting hold of the owners because by now FEMA is pretty much done collecting the debris. So they're going to have to get private contractors to remove the debris. And then again, as I stated before, the unlicensed contractors, we're working with 2 cases right now, and those have been referred out to the county also because they will come in and do their research and place fines upon them also. Any questions?
Councilor.
I wanted to comment and thank you. You had a lot of sand on Dock Boulevard that needed to be moved, but a lot of these truck drivers would not put their screens over, and I know you stopped at least 1 or 2, and I appreciate that, because if you got behind them on a motorcycle or whatever, it was like a total sandblast.
Well, I stopped one also that had a trailer, and it was a pretty good sized dump trailer just to start, and then he went and put plywood walls, that thing had to be 14 feet high, just loaded, and he didn't have any tents or anything on top of that. And stuff was flying out, so we took care of it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments?
I have a question, Deputy Trump. Some time has now passed since the hurricanes have passed through the community, and there's been a lot of people that had extreme damage.
Yes.
I've also noticed an awful lot of people that had drywall up in a day or 2.
Yes.
So I guess my question really is what happens to properties that had unpermitted work completed in the long run? How does that impact the house, or how does it impact the permitting process, or how does that?
All of the cities themselves have been pretty open as far as mitigating the damage and everything else, and not so much. But by the technicality of it, even to remove the drywall would require a permit. All of the cities in the area are pretty much overlooking that because they had to get the walls open so they can get them dried out. And the only thing that I can say right now is that to reinstall electrical drywall, things like that, it does require a permit. And the permit process is starting to speed up, so people have to be a little bit patient yet, but it is starting to catch up, and people are, understanding for the most part that we're trying to at least get the pre-permits done through the city, and then they also have to understand that if they're doing a large amount of work, it has to go through the county also, and they have to present their present their paperwork to the county and get permits through there. So by the technicality of it, if you're putting drywall back in, one, it needs to be a licensed contractor to reinstall, and two, you're supposed to have a permit.
What does that do to the valuation of the property, or what does that do to the next buyer of the property that buys something they didn't know was moved and or unpermitted work?
That would be up to the county really, because the county inspectors come out and they inspect that property afterwards. So it would be up to the county if they would put some kind of lien on the house or however.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Deputy Trump? One thing that I'll add about what Mr. Harper was talking about is before you can do any of that, you're supposed to have a permit for the demolition.
Yes.
And I believe that's standard, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's standard process for FEMA. Is that right?
Well, the mitigation or remediation process was kind of opened up for people to dry out quickly, but yeah, you should have a permit. So when you do eventually do your repairs, you should be including that demolition along with it. Yes.
All right. Just trying to get some information out there because there's so many questions people still have.
Yes, sir.
Deputy Trump, I appreciate you being here tonight, and thanks for the very detailed report.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right, next up is a presentation from the Pinellas Suncoast Fire and Rescue District by Chief Jeffrey Davidson. Hello, Chief. How are you?
Good evening, Mayor, council members, community. I'm Jeffrey Davidson, Fire Chief, here to give you the monthly report for November. November was a slower month for emergency responses with only 32 fire and EMS responses into Bel Air Beach. We're still recovering, as everyone is, from the aftermath of both storms. We had some substantial damage to two of our fire stations that we're continuing to work on. Some events that we have coming up, so we recently, hope everybody had a blessed Thanksgiving. And we recently partnered up with the Sheriff's Office and with the Rotary and with Publix to distribute Thanksgiving meals. And we've been doing that for many years, a great event. We're going to be doing that again for Christmas. You might see our fire inspector, Robert Hill, one of the 3 Publix locations, right, closest one here as well. Dressed up as Santa and taking donations for our toy drive. And we do that every year as well, so we're really proud of that. We also have December 18th, everybody's welcome to come. We started about 3 years ago, we started doing cookies and cocoa with Santa Claus. That's going to be on December 18th, and that's going to be at the fire station at 304 1st Street in Indian Rocks Beach. Update on the land purchase. Everything got slowed down with the hurricanes, obviously, but we should be finalizing the land purchase here in the next couple of weeks, so we can better serve Bel Air Beach, and then that construction project will get underway just as soon as possible. Our main land station, where we're going to be building an emergency operations center, we're scheduled to break ground March or April. We're in the permitting process is coming up, and we just finished the 90% development stage, so we'll be able to operate out of that without having to leave the district. We currently occupy other buildings because we don't have a hurricane-proof building. This year, Kyle was there with us in the EOC, did a great job, very dedicated to be hands-on with Bel Air Beach and be closer, so we were grateful to have him over there. And let's see what other events. And that's it for now. We hope everybody has a blessed holiday season. I know everybody, all of us, it's been a tough year. So brighter things ahead. And separately, I just want to, my first public announcement that I'm going to be a grandpa any day now. So waiting on a phone call. So my daughter should be home later any day now. And then I'll be heading out to stay there with her for a little while. So, thank you all very much. Happy holidays to everybody. If you have any questions for me?
Chief, does anyone have any questions for Chief Davidson? No, you actually answered my question about the new fire hall, and so
Yes, sir.
I'm glad that that's not really, that's because it's a complete knockdown, is that right?
A complete knockdown on the mainland station? Yes, sir. And there's a lot of things we thought we were going to be able to do temporary housing on that location, but it's not big enough, so we're looking at temporary housing. Once they start the demolition, it's only 11 months until we'll be able to get back in the building. So we have a few properties around there that we're looking at. And then the land purchase in the very northern end of Indian Rocks Beach, we're in the final stages of that. We had to do our due diligence, and originally they thought it had to be replatted, and it didn't. The zoning is just fine, and now we're just waiting. The last thing we're waiting on is grandfathering for the drainage. And once that's done, we'll finalize that purchase, and we'll get underway with building so we can better serve Bel Air Beach.
Great.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
the report, and you have a wonderful holiday season. All right?
You as well. Thank you.
All right, now we're up to item number 4. This is the city attorney report. Mr. Mora, seems like it's been forever since I've seen you. Where you been?
All around, Mayor, all around. I thank you all for your grace, and as I missed last month's meeting and had a calling cover, owing to some scheduling conflicts. With that said, I have no report tonight, but I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Council, any questions? No? All right, what do you? Now we're up to item number 5, the city manager report. Mr. Riefler.
Thank you, Mayor. So what Code Deputy Trump said about the debris is correct. We've picked up all the debris from the right-of-way using the FEMA contractors. They've hauled all that debris to the debris management site, sorted it, and have disposed of it. So that's all been accounted for, and we're in the process of putting together paperwork for the public assistance of FEMA to recoup some of the money for the debris and other cleanup. We should be able to get 100% of the debris removal, so we'll be aiming to do so. The last week on Tuesday, I got 2 building contractors working for me that was provided by the Florida Division of Emergency Management. Since having some plan reviewers work remotely for me, I've been able to take the permit packages that we have currently pending and have them review the repair side of things, make sure that the prices are accurate, and if they're satisfied that after looking at the damage reports that were provided by Tidal Basin, the original inspectors, looking at the permit, making sure that all the materials and labor are accounted for, and they sign off that they're satisfied with that, I'm able to compare that back to the value of the structure, making the 50% determination as floodplain administrator, and then get the permit approved. So since Tuesday, I started with 3, but now I'm back down to 2. One of them just wasn't really producing very many reviews. But one of them worked over the Thanksgiving holiday, so I've moved through close to 15 permits at this point, doing it that way, which is progress. The last reports that I did get from Tidal Basin, which is that county contractor doing the estimator tool, their last export I received was November 13th, so it's been multiple weeks. I feel at this point, now that I have people reviewing the permits, I might actually move through those before I even get the estimator reports, but it's kind of a moot point. Eventually, once we have them all, I'll be able to send either, substantial damage letters or non-substantial damage letters to find out the next steps. But that's where we're at right now. So this week I plan, let's see, I climbed up to close to 60 in pending permits. I'm down to like the mid-30s again. I hope to get all of all those packages at least over 2 reviewers to be in queue being looked at this week and follow up on it the following week. And at any time that I do get an export of these other structures that give me percentages of the estimator tool, I'll make the determinations based on that. But like I said, it's a very, very slow process at this time. The last I heard still from the county was they plan to be able to get through all 470 properties in Bel Air Beach by the end of the year, but like I said, 2 weeks have gone by, I haven't seen any exports, so I'm not really confident in that.
What year are you talking about?
This year, the current year, 2024, yes. But like I said, so I am optimistic, though, at least having some contractors work with that we're getting through the permits, and I'm trying to get those through as quickly as possible. So we'll continue to do so. Also, we were able to build steps at the 6th Street beach access and open that so that there is access to the beach for residents that live in the south. I also had Ruth Clarkson. He took a look at the other 2 beach accesses, and he is convinced that the seawalls are in good condition that can be backfilled. So at this point, we would move to 19th, where we got to start cleaning up some of the bricks, some of the concrete that was moved, and work on getting it graded out. Open that one, followed by 12th would be the last. 12th had the pavers, if you recall, as like part of the decking, and it had the most undermining on both sides, so they'll need the most work. But plan is to get city staff in there and slowly start to clean it out and regrade and get those back open. With hopes, as part of the public assistance, that I'm working with the grant application with FEMA, we might be able to come up with some kind of mitigation design to raise the cap of the seawall and see if we can get some kind of funding. But I want to dig a little deeper into that. Gulf Boulevard undergrounding is still planning to resume in January. The Stormwater Harbor contracting, so the stormwater project, they resumed on November 18th. They went right back at it. They are currently removing and replacing the curb on 23rd, which will be the last portion. That's the southern portion of 23rd. That was more that flat curb we talked about. The engineer, after resurveying it and doing the redesign, said that it needed to be to the specifications of the valley curb. So that whole portion on the south side of 23rd is getting replaced. We did reach out to the county asking if they wanted to work with us on correcting the low point in the radius of Gulf Boulevard and 23rd. They approved our permits to replace our curb, but we have to go from the cut line that they made into the curb and make it flow down to the east towards Bay Shore. So the other side, the county's curb on Gulf Boulevard will still have a depression, so we still expect water, but they said that they would take care of it. So the city's plan is to put our curb in the correct way, and then once we're done with our portion, then we'll check up on the county to make sure that they get the drainage worked out. Code review services, we were attempting to call together the planning and zoning board because we do need the planning and zoning to review our draft ordinances before they come to council for the 2 readings. We plan on convening that board in the month of December and starting with some of the Chapter 94 revisions that we'd like to bring for first and second reading. And we're bringing back up the pump station design. I reached back out to the owner of 125 9th Street. That is the property that we look to have a 10-foot easement to run the pipe to avoid having to remove some trees that are existing in the right of way. I reached out to the property manager about 3 times following up, and I haven't gotten anywhere. At this point, I'd like to plan on not getting that easement. We provided the document that being legally reviewed, but every follow-up, I can't seem to get anywhere with getting that easement, but I'd like to move forward because residents on 9th Street continue to bring up asking about this project, so I'd like to at least get to the point where we have plans for design that we can bid on. And as you can recall, that was part of the original design PO, was to, once we figured out how we wanted to run the pipe, then we're gonna draft up some plans and then kind of take a look at what the cost estimate would be and possibly bid it out to see what prices come in as. So if I have council's consensus, I'd like to instruct Gemini Engineering to move forward in coming up with a design for that project. Come back to that. And then holiday decorations, I'd just like to recap. We got the new tree. We lost the old one in the flood. Was able to purchase the tree and the star. It's a little more expensive than it used to be, but we got that 3 bids, and the lowest bid was a little over $9,000. And we also purchased 20 of the pole decorations, assorted pole decorations. I got 3 bids on that, and those came in at about $14,629. When the staff went and started installing them, we did discover that that the outlets that they told me they went through and repaired them all a year ago. There's a lot of problems with them, so I did put in an emergency repair to the lighting crew to get it working for this holiday season. So we did give them all that. I'm hoping that they can turn that around quickly. And then in the meantime, we can get the rest of those up. But the reason we went with 20, just to reiterate, is because originally there were only 19 or so poles that actually had the outlets on them. So we just want to get up decorations this year on the ones that have already existing outlets, and then get them powered, and then expand next year. It was kind of a crunch time period to get it done. So that is everything on my report. Just as a reminder, I will be taking, not the next week, but the following week, which is going to be, December, from the 13th, of my last day is Friday, and then I'll be out of town until, I'll come back on the 26th, after Christmas.
We must have assurance that you are coming back.
Definitely.
Any questions or comments for the city manager?
Hopefully we'll give you a big enough raise tonight that you will come back.
I did have a question for you. Have you had to send out your home is substantially damaged, and if that happens, well, first off, have you had to send any of those out yet?
I believe I have sent either 5 or 6,
Okay.
and I've spoken to over 50%. Some situations are very substantial damage, others are very close. Like I said, when the only substantial damages that I've submitted or I made letters for were based from the estimator tool. So it gave us back. Again, it's a very broad look at the damage, but it gave us back about over 50% based on the calculations, and sent a letter. There's have been some that were, accepting, kind of expecting the situation. Others, it's only step 1 where, again, we can take the full permit package, we can analyze the repairs and compare it back to cost. So it doesn't mean that your structure, if it comes back from the estimated report, is definitely substantially damaged. It's just the first step.
Okay, because the main thing that I wanted to get across is if you receive one of those letters that says you're substantially damaged, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to knock it down or raise it or move or whatever. There just may be another way that the city looks at your home and the amount of damage that's done, and at least we have the flexibility to make that happen. Doesn't necessarily mean that it'll work every time, but I'm sure that there's already been some cases where the county ranked things much higher than they should have been, and we want everyone to stay if at all possible. So that was the only comment I had. Anything else?
Member Shirley would like to speak.
Vice Mayor sorry, not Vice Mayor. It's been so long, you know. Anyway, Councilmember Shirley.
Yeah, a couple of things real quick is, Kyle, to your question about the pump station on 9th Street, I would say we need to move forward with getting access to that. If it means taking down trees in our existing easement, we need to take them down and get that pump station addressed. It's been kind of an ongoing problem. So I'm in full support of you doing what we need to do there without trying to acquire another easement from a private property owner. Also, holiday decorations, good job. I appreciate everything you're doing with that. If we could, what we have to do, looking at streets and power poles and whatnot, there is a street light I noted on Hibiscus East at the park. Our street light is out at the park right there between Harrison and Belle Isle.
Okay.
All right, that's it. Thank you.
Shaw Elliott, did you have a question or a comment? You can tell if she does or not.
My apologies. I, of course, support moving ahead with the 9th Street cost assessment. Whether we successfully get an easement or not, we need to know what the cost of that project will be, and we want to do it with all due haste. And so let's move ahead with that. Regarding the trees, they are live oaks. To the extent that we can save them, that would be wonderful. To the extent that we can't, they'll just have to go. We'll plant something else there. But as part of this review and moving ahead, I think we can take a look at whether our existing easement is sufficient or whether we need to move further, and then we can make that decision as far as whether the trees need to be cut down or not. Thanks very much, and I apologize for the awkwardness of my appearance here today. I'm now in my 8th hour of waiting at the airport, waiting for my flight out, so I might get interrupted as they start calling passengers. So my apologies.
Thank you very much. Any comments on that? Mr. Baker, you had a comment?
Just that two things. The 9th Street project needs to go forward. And Kyle, again, never ceased to amaze me. I came in and talked to you about 6th Street. 7 days later, it steps in. 12th Street is a disaster, but I think if we pulled all the concrete out of there and just put in fill and sand, because there is a step down there, I think we could get 12th Street open quickly and 19th Street open quickly, since the seawalls are sustained right now, as the engineer said. I mean, it's not going to look great, it's not going to have a sitting area, but at least the people have beach access. And I think it would be minimal cost to the city to just fill it in right now and then go forward with some plans on rebuilding those piers for people.
What I saw on 12, remember we went over there, was the property on the right side. There's nothing holding the wall up. Is that this correct?
Yes, 12th Street,
12th
north
Street.
side, it needs some work on the wall.
North side wall, you can see 10 feet under that wall.
But I'm talking about just taking the concrete out, filling it in, and just giving the people the access, a walking path access.
Yeah, I agree.
12th Street is a disaster.
It's the worst. It's the worst. And just so everyone knows, he said 6th is open, 19th is probably next, and then 12th will be the off one.
just to note, 12th is probably our busiest street when it comes to access.
Thank you very much, Mr. Riefler. Oh, do we have a question? Yes, sir.
Thank you. John, you and I had chatted once before about taking a 12-month period and looking at that 12-month period with regards to the different scenarios that may occur within our city with respect to heavy rains and high tide. Pretty much that's going to be the biggest time period where a pump system may be affected. Obviously, blue skies, no issue. Low tide and a rain, theoretically no issue. So the high tide, heavy rain scenarios are one we're really looking at where the pump system would come into play. So if we could just get a snapshot, I think it would be important data to consider in our decision-making process. How many times a pump system, just historically, looking at the past 12 months or whatever time period Kyle takes a look at, with regards to how many times a year the pump system may come into play. So I think that would be important for us just to take a peek at when we're going through that.
And just to comment on that, just, I guess it was a week and a half ago, we had that 3/4 of an inch rain. When the cold front came in, there was water on 9th Street at midnight until like 2:30 in the morning. And 7th Street, all the way down it was. And if we had a pump that would have, didn't go in anybody's houses, I don't believe, but I came into the driveways again. And if there was a pump there, it would have pushed it out.
I think that project was stalled for a reason.
Sure.
Because if we did that a year ago, it would probably not be working today.
True.
Because of what happened.
I don't know if there was a screening process.
All right. Is that it? Any other questions? No? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Riefler. Now we're on to the city clerk report. Renee, you have the floor.
I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Such an interesting report. I appreciate it. All right. Next up is citizen comments. In case everyone's wondering why we moved them to after the city manager's comments, and basically everyone's comments is because we know you have questions. We know that everyone's wondering where their permit's at, what's going on with substantial damage reporting, and I just thought it was best to always put Kyle's report first. Hopefully it answers your questions, and then as soon as citizen comments are over, then we go back to the city manager to give him a second opportunity to ask questions or answer questions if you had any that he had not already answered. If any citizen would like to address the council about a topic not already on tonight's agenda, please raise your hand and wait to be called on. We ask that you limit your time to no more than 3 minutes, and remember to direct all questions and comments to the council. If any council member would like to respond to citizen comments, just hold your responses until the end of the meeting, and you can do it then. All right, who would like to speak? Yes, Mr. Manzo.
I'm going to get another 3 minutes. I don't think I'm going to need it, just in case I go along from Barry Gray.
Okay.
Okay, I'll start. So I want to share an experience. Well, Joseph Manzo, I think you all know me, former mayor of this city. I want to share an experience that I had with this city and our city government. And for once, it's a real positive one. So that's why I came down tonight to speak. I got tired of looking out my window and seeing the 6th Street access with 3 gates. It had been 1 gate ever since the hurricane, and there were 2 more gates. And it just, to me, didn't look like a lot was getting done. So I called up some people around the city, inquired about 12th and 18th, and they were the same. Took a ride there, saw the same thing. So called up Frank Bankert, and we took a little view of the different easements. And we looked at 6th Street and we said, doesn't look all that bad. Looks like it's ready to go. Don't know why it's being delayed. Took a look at 12th Street. It was pretty bad. Needs a lot of work, and but it was savable. And then we looked at 18th Street, and there's one section which you don't even use in the south part that's demolished, but the rest of it is in pretty good shape. So our opinion, and you know, he has construction background and so do I, is we can get these things going pretty quickly. So next night, I went to see our friends in Bel Air Shore. And as you know, I don't have the greatest relationship with them, but we're working on that. One of their commissioners goes to my church. And I said, I can't go to church with you on Sunday and city on Monday. It just doesn't work that way, at least for me. That goes against everything we're supposed to be doing. So we're talking, and it's refreshing. So we had a nice conversation with the folks at Bel Air Shore. And I think the mayor was thinking that he was going to wait until the gates got fully repaired, and kind of said nicely, that's not going to work. Didn't have gates for 30, 40 years. We can get this thing open without gates and even put temporary barriers if necessary. I even spoke with Michael Tolbert via email a little bit to give him some suggestions. There was some misconception. I met with two of their council members after the meeting, Daniel Story and Michael Tolbert, out in the parking lot. There was some misconception about what was needed with construction control lines and other permitting. And I said, 6th Street, construction control line is actually in front of where the seawall is, because it jumps back. So I said, if we build stairs, we don't need anyone's permission as far as I understand it. Next day, before I even had a chance to have my oatmeal, Frank Bankart was meeting with Kyle. And they went through everything that was discussed at that meeting and everything that we had witnessed. And there was a lot of back and forth, a lot of emails from people in my little group. And Kyle was reading them. And he wrote back, he said, I understand this, and I understand the priority of this. And he said, we're going to work on this, and we're going to get these things open. I said, okay, I'll keep an eye on things. I look out my window, I'll see how the 6th Street's going. And I think maybe 3 days later, I saw a bunch of trucks at 6th Street. And I texted some of my friends, and I said, they might be working on it already. We might be open. The day before Thanksgiving, 6th Street opened up. Let me tell you something. Kyle, you and your crew did an outstanding job in response. It was everything good that government is supposed to be. You were responsive to everyone's needs. It wasn't a real complicated project that required all kinds of engineering, and you got it done. And I know you're working hard with a whole bunch of other stuff. Thank you on behalf of all the citizens that use that. Thank you from me personally. And I want to thank you even on behalf of Bel Air Shore, because in speaking to some of the people on their commission, they were getting people cutting through private yards and trespassing and stuff, and they wanted to see the beach access open. I know you got these other two. I know you get it. Frank Bankart, it couldn't have happened without your help and speaking with Kyle and being the liaison. Fabulous job. Fabulous job. Congratulations to you, and thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yes, sir. Please come up to the podium, give us your name and address, and try to keep it within 3 minutes.
Hello, everybody. I'm Roger Mull at 115 Causeway Boulevard, Bel Air Beach, Florida 33786. I came to praise a good deal of people here because all of us have been through a horrific event. And I don't think there's a single person in the entire community who hasn't suffered either an emotional or financial problem within their households. But there are some outstanding things that have happened. And the first one overall is that usually in an event like this, it brings out either the worst in people or the best in people. And I can't think of a single time where I've seen the worst in people. All I've seen is people helping each other and going out of their way. I know, for instance, like on 12th Street, Gary Gray and Pete Rivero and literally every citizen on that street, has gone out of their way to not only fix up their place, but to help everybody else do the same thing. And I know the same thing happened on 14th Street, so as I talked to a few people tonight, it sounds like it was the same throughout. But in one regard, there's one person who I think stands out as an overall hero, and his associate, Kyle and Aaron. On the night of the hurricane, I got a call from a neighbor who was 2 houses away, and he was getting to the point where it was dangerous because he was in a single-story house and the water was up to his chest. And so we went over there, and as I get out of the house, fortunately, Kyle and Aaron are there in a kayak, And we were able to get them out and over to my house where there was safety because we have a 2-story house. And he literally not only was above and beyond what his job description is, he genuinely was caring for the citizens. I saw this over and over and over, and you see it over and over and over every week. It doesn't matter what you bring to his attention. It seems to not only get addressed, but addressed quickly. And so I compliment all of you for getting somebody who's so outstanding and not sitting in his chair trying to change the sign with a computer so he doesn't have to get out of that chair. So it's so nice to have somebody who's personally involved in the community, who genuinely cares for everybody in the community. And so I didn't know until tonight that you were up for a raise, and so I would say I totally endorse him getting an increase in pay, because I don't think we've ever had an employee, except for maybe Nancy, she was pretty good too, that genuinely cared for the citizens like he does. And so I applaud your efforts, but he actually, from what I understand, I had another neighbor who's a close friend of mine, he and his wife were on a kitchen counter, and they thought they were going to die. And they were taken out of there on the boat, on his kayak or whatever it was, and he saved their lives. So I thank you, and I thank all of you for having the foresight to hire such a commendable person. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mullen. All right, next. Someone else like to speak? Yes? Come on up.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Tammy Lavenda, 97 Harbor Drive. I'm here representing the Bel Air Beach Community Foundation. Just a couple of updates. I know we've talked about it over and over, but I just wanted to say I appreciate everyone's patience with the Veterans Memorial. We were so close to the ribbon cutting, but we have been working behind the scenes. There are so many priorities right now. We know that the Veterans Memorial isn't the first priority, but we are on the list for every company, every avenue that we need to complete the project. So the brick company, the Veterans Memorial Brick Company, was hit pretty hard by the hurricane in Sarasota. So was the Plaque Company, and then we just need to obviously redo all of the landscaping again. So we appreciate your patience, and if anybody has some time or the willingness to volunteer, we definitely need some help with this, as all 4 of us on the board were all hit pretty substantially with our homes, like a lot of people. So again, I appreciate your patience, and we look forward to the ribbon cutting once the project is finished.
Thank you, Ms. Lavenda. Would anyone else like to speak? Yes.
I don't know if this is the right time to speak, but there's been some emails going back and forth between the city manager and the city attorney about getting a clean release from a cross-property attachment. And we were informed to come to the meeting today, so I didn't see it specifically on the agenda, so I didn't know if now was the right time to talk about it. But basically, we're here.
I'm sorry, could you just state your name for the record?
Sure. My name is Darlene DiPaolo, and I am actually an attorney with a title company who's trying to facilitate the sale of a property that is owned by a resident of Bel Air Beach. However, it's outside the city limits, and it's in Clearwater, and we've been trying to facilitate a contract on that for quite a few months now. There's been a lot of communication going back and forth, so we're just here to ask if we could, release that cross-property attachment and what the conditions of that would be.
Okay, we normally don't respond to citizen comments. However, the city manager, his term will be up, and then he may be able to address your question, which is just as soon as I close citizen comments.
Okay. It was my understanding that this was brought up at a previous meeting, but because, the homeowner, anybody representing the homeowner wasn't here, it wasn't passed, so then we were asked to come to this meeting, but I didn't see it on the agenda, so I didn't know if this was the right time to speak about it.
Thank you so much. Any other citizen comments? No? All right, citizen comments are now closed. Mr. Riefler, you're up.
Okay, so first I just want to say thank you for the nice comments that were made regarding the accesses in the storm, and it's always a pleasure to serve the community. As far as this lien, I brought it up, I believe it was the September meeting. We have a lien on a property for an outstanding over expired construction permit. Property was on 25th Street. Originally was permitted in, I believe, 2018 and completed this past year. Each trade was running a daily fine for being late on the permit. Everything now with the house is in compliance and it has a CO and the owner is living there. It has accumulated a large lien. It's over $300,000. That has been liened. The owner also owns other properties. He's trying to make a sale, I believe it's Clearwater, on another property. The title company and the owner have reached out to request if there's some kind of payment that can be made to release the lien on the property that's in Clearwater when we have it solely on the property that's in Dollar Beach. So that's a little background. I believe before the storm and everything happened, we wanted to kind of compile this into a work session. But again, there's been emails back and forth, and the advice was to bring a proposal to the meeting of how you'd like to settle this lien for the council to consider.
Council, any questions or comments? Okay, I do have one. What we have is we have an individual that has not taken our municipal code seriously. He's not. This is me. This is not the city. This is just. I want you to consider this. This person has not paid a dime in the fines that have been mounting up all of these years. It's been like a 3-year project?
Probably from when the fine started, right around two years and change.
Okay. It's just completely ignored the fines, ignored the lien, ignored the code, and now he's asking for a favor. Can you take your lien off of one of my properties? Well, I don't see him paying us if you do that, because what does he have to lose? He's living in this home. You can't kick him out. It's a brand new home. This is something he's going to kick down the road later. If the only way that I would go along with this, or at least agree to it, would be if somehow it was arranged with the title company at the time of sale that we got our money out of that sale. Sure, come on up.
So I've come to find out, it's come to my attention that there is actually an attorney, Brian Augst, I'm sorry if I butchered that last name, that has been working, okay, thank you, I'm sorry, that has been working with the city attorney for the past year regarding the lien. So it wasn't completely ignored. The other comment that this was during COVID, so it was very hard to get contractors to show up. So these are delays, they're fines for delays. And then the third comment is that there is not enough proceeds in the sale of the property in Clearwater to cover the entire amount demanded by the city of Bel-Air Beach that would have to be addressed if we were to put any money into escrow.
Weren't most of these fines a daily occurrence fine?
Daily occurrence for delays, correct. And a lot of it's interest.
And how much was that daily occurrence that people should know? Was it like $100, $150 a day or something?
I believe it was like over $400 a day. It was quite a substantial fine. Plus there's interest charges, 1,050 interest, 1,050 interest, 1,050 interest. So a lot of this are interest charges. That's July 3rd, July 3rd, July 3rd, July 3rd, August 13th. I mean, so you're talking about, within 15 days, multiple thousands of dollars of just interest, within a week.
Government at its best.
What's that?
Government at its best.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What is the value of the property that the house proceeds are being put against?
The Clearwater property?
Correct.
The contract sales price is $390,000, but there's a mortgage that needs to be paid off, and of course, closing costs and transfer taxes, etc.
What is the settlement to the owner?
The cash to the seller, we don't have a final payoff from his mortgage, but probably somewhere around $100,000.
How much does he owe right now?
The demand from the city was $325,000, which, like I said, was mostly interest and fees.
I would like to take this to a work session as we originally planned and discuss it then.
Mayor, Member Shirley would like to speak as well.
Councilmember Shirley?
Thank you, Mayor. As I recall, this property, well, any property, you have 2 years to complete a permitted construction project. This property, I believe, took more than 4 years to complete. They're continuous, just ignoring the city manager's request for even schedules. The owner nor the builder would provide any information to help us mitigate the problem as it was occurring. So my position is just based on our past, how we've treated things like this in the past. We have negotiated, but we'll never just make the lien go away. That being said, if you want an answer tonight, my only response would be, we might consider 50%, but we need to be paid to make that lien go away. We're not gonna suspend it. And that would be my vote.
Understood, but we're not asking for the lien to go away, just the cross-property attachment. So you'll still have your lien to negotiate to, potentially even get your full amount against the subject property. It's just the cross-property attachment, because we do have a real estate sale and purchase contract that has been delayed over 3 months. The buyer's hanging on by a thread. So,
I understand completely, and I would say we should take the proceeds from that sale to start paying down the debt that's owed.
I agree 100%. It's sell the house and use the proceeds to at least start making a good faith effort on paying the balance down. I think that would be fair.
And I would say that this is a good opportunity for the property owner to negotiate with the city on how to make payments for the balance and get his lien cut down and maybe reduced rather than carrying this $300,000 lien.
like I stated earlier, I believe Attorney Brian Hawks, I'm sorry I pronounced that wrong again, and the city attorney have been working on that for over a year regarding, the lien and the balance of the liens. That's my understanding. I just got this information today. So I guess they've been working on this for over a year. So there is communications, there is negotiations, there are things that are moving forward regarding the lien against the subject property in Bel Air.
To the extent representations have been made about my dealings with Attorney Youngst, my dealings with Attorney Youngst have not been specific to the cross property, but to the broader lien, as it relates to the code enforcement fines imposed. One of the things that he and I have been discussing, along with the city managers, is perhaps offering alternative procedures for whether it be through the council or otherwise to bring some clarity and certainty to the lien reduction application process, if you will. And Attorney Youngst has been helpful enough in providing some recommendations in that regard as well. I did speak with him earlier today, and I wasn't aware that the two were linked, and perhaps I wasn't fully cognizant of that connection. But that said, at no time have I represented that any liens would just be forgiven and I believe we had an opportunity, and you're not saying I have, and I believe you and I had an opportunity to talk on the phone. My recommendation again was to come to the meeting and make, as the manager stated, whatever proposal that your client is willing to make for that release, whether it's some payment in a sum or what have you, and that's again ultimately your prerogative on how your client proceeds. But that's been the nature of my dealings with as it relates to this, is more broad brush and saying, once we have a better idea of the process, perhaps that'd be a better time to discuss the outstanding lien. But I've been very clear that in my dealings, in my experience as the city attorney here, this is not a council that is likely, or not a community that is likely to simply, forgive an outstanding lien on a 10% payment or something of the sort based on history, and I've made that clear to all that I've done. And it's ultimately, presently, the decision of this council on how they proceed.
And just to be clear, we're not asking to release the lien.
Right, and to be very, very clear from this, at no point has been asked, to the extent Attorney DiPaolo, is that?
Yes, correct.
Attorney DiPaolo, and I spoke, as she has stated here, her request is not to release the $300,000 lien, but to release the encumbrance on the cross property while retaining the lien as it relates to the property here in the city, noting the mayor's concerns about that as well. But that has been the proposal. I'm not aware of a specific dollar sum that has been proposed. I've heard figures bandied about, but that's where I would be, from my perspective, my understanding of the process.
About 4 months ago, there was an offer for $2,500 just to unattach the cross property, not to release the lien. So you guys still, and I believe there's some ongoing communications about that. So, if it comes where you retain the right to collect the entire amount, or you resolve it, or you negotiate it, that has nothing to do with why, I'm here today. I'm just trying to facilitate the sale of the property in Clearwater and just release the cross attachment for a certain sum.
Partial
Still
release.
correct.
Partial release. For precision of language purposes, it's a partial release of the lien as it concerns a specific property, not the property owner's encumbrance directly since.
Correct. Where the city of, Ballard Beach will retain full rights to whatever they want to do with the balance of that actual lien.
I understand. I think that, again, this is just my opinion. I think that you should go back to your client and work out some sort of an offer for a substantial offering on the sale of that property for us to release that lien. Because it's my gut that says he's not going to pay. If we release it, he's not going to pay, because what is there to lose?
I understand your position. We did make an offer of $2,500. I just don't want to keep going back and forth because it's been going on for about 4 months. There's got to be, some sort of dollar amount that you could propose, or we can come to an agreement on, in a shorter amount of time. Just because we do have a real estate, I have a duty to the contract to facilitate.
I understand, and I believe that $100,000 would be a nice negotiating tool.
So is it the city's position that they want all of the proceeds from the sale in order to release the?
I would think that would be at least fair, because at the end of the day, he's still going to owe us money, but at least we'll get some of our money now.
I do think it would be important to note that this did all happen during COVID while there were emergency administrative orders in place and there were a lot of delays. We all know stories where, a pool that should have taken 6 months took 3 years. So this was all during COVID. So the delays were not, the fault of him. You can't go to a contractor's house and pull him onto the job site and say, get this done right now.
I understand. Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
I think any further details really would require a proposal on your side to come to us and say, this is where we stand and this is what we're offering. But I think we're down to hard numbers at this point.
So you're saying the $2,500 that we offered 4 months ago was just rejected and you want a different amount, or how would you like me?
I think where we're standing is where the mayor is, and that is there is a significant amount of money. $2,500 over $300,000 money is not anything worth paying attention to.
Right, and I know that we keep repeating $300,000 lien, but most of that is, is interest and, per diems. There's not hard costs from the city. It's just from construction delays from COVID. It's nothing that came out of the city's pocket. It's always been my understanding that, compliance, not punishment, is what.
I think the issue here is the conversation about the idea that this has been trying to be mitigated for multiple years, and with the non-response of the builder and the owner, and there is a significant amount of accrual here because of that lack of mitigation, that lack of resolution of the problem. So that kind of brings us to the situation we are today, which is the owner needs to come to the city with a significant amount of offer to make this go away.
And I'm going to halt you right there. We've spent enough time on this. I would like to move forward with our agenda. I appreciate you coming tonight. I've given you something you can go back and talk to your client about, and maybe by the next work session, you can come in with some sort of a proposal for us to consider, because right now, we don't have anything.
He is here tonight, and we did offer $2,500, like I said, just.
It's not,
the
I don't think
partial
that, I think it's the general consensus of this council that that doesn't even come close to touching what he owes to the city.
Mayor. Member Shirley would like to speak again.
Yes, Councilmember Shirley.
I really don't have anything more. I was just going to say the same thing. Come to us with a substantial number and we'll consider it. But at this point, $2,500 isn't enough to even have this conversation.
All right, thank you very much. All right, now we are on to consent agenda. It's item number 9. This is for approval of the November 4th, 2024 City Council minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve as presented.
Motion is made by Frank Banker. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'm going to give that one to Mr. Wellings. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? No opposed? All right, consent agenda passes. Now we're on to the regular agenda. This is item number 10, nomination and election of vice mayor by ballot. Currently, the nominees are Frank Banker, Lloyd Roberts, Kim Shaw Elliott, and Jody Shirley. At this time, I'm going to open up for more nominations if anyone would like to nominate someone or themselves. Once that's done, I will close nominations and then we'll move on to citizen comments. So would anyone, any other nominations? No? All right. Nominations are now closed. Would any citizen like to comment on the current nominations? Yes, sir.
Joseph Manzo. So you have 4 candidates and they're all good, but I think one clearly has an advantage over all the others. That person has proven themselves over the years to be a tireless fighter for the citizens of this city. The person doesn't come to meetings and rubber stamps things. This person evaluates, uses critical reasoning to think things through. The person has an excellent command of the charter and the rules that govern this city council, and at times has even caught errors by our city attorney. And that's not to make the city attorney look bad. He handles, I don't know how many cities, quite a bit, so an occasional mistake with all the city charters is possible. But the person knows when our friends in Bel Air Shore cut off our right to shade, this person was right beside me leading the fight to get everybody protected. When this person who goes to the beach almost daily noticed that boaters were getting too close to the shoreline, the person began an endless fight with the DEP to try and get buoys for safety of our citizens. A couple of years ago, we took a survey and safety of the citizens was the #1 priority. This person's never lost that. And finally, I was just telling you about this person who helped us get these beach accesses open by working with Kyle. The clear choice is Frank Bankard. He deserves this. He has the longevity on this council. He's proven himself to be a man of the people, and he deserves this more than anybody. It's not to say the other candidates are not good, but Frank is the best. I urge you to vote for him and to compare yourself against what he's done if you're one of the people running, and how do you stack up? What have you done for the people compared to what Frank has done? I'm going to ask you to vote for Frank Bankard for vice mayor.
Thank you. Other comments from citizens? All right, citizen comments are now closed. Council, I'm going to need a motion to proceed with electing a vice mayor. Motion. All right, so give that to Councilmember Harper. Do I have a second? Second by Wellings. Ms. Harper, you have the floor.
I think that the idea that we have a vice mayor as we've gone back to rebuilding a strong council and as we are moving forward with the idea of consistent leadership and quorum within the community, I think the concept of the vice mayor is necessary in order to maintain that leadership integrity and to maintain that position within the city. I think all four candidates that are listed here are exceptional. I think they all have experience, and I think they would all do the city well.
Thank you. Other comments? Okay, so,
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to withdraw my name. I'm going to throw my support to Mr. Roberts.
all right. All right, Mr. Baker is out. And now let's talk about how we're going to do this. Originally, it was going to be a paper ballot. We have two members that are working remotely. We need a majority vote to elect a vice mayor. So it's very possible that it may take several rounds to select one. If everyone agrees with this method, I'd like to eliminate a council member with the least number of votes in each round. If two or more are tied with the least, we will vote on an elimination tiebreaker vote. So the first round, we vote, we knock off whoever's low. If we have a tie for whoever's low, the next vote will be for elimination. So in that case, it would be a high. Whoever has the highest votes would be eliminated. Then we will resume to the next round until we finally have a vice mayor. Is everyone good with that?
Mayor, it appears that we have lost member Elliott. She may have since gotten on her plane.
Okay, all right. Well, we're still in a quorum, so we can continue forward.
Can I say something? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I likewise would not like to be considered for vice mayor and would like to put my vote behind Mr. Roberts.
All right, we can do that. All right, in that case, we don't have to worry about elimination because we have well, actually we have 6. Let's see how it goes. So, I guess let's vote. Yes, sir.
Is it too late to ask Mr. Banker to reconsider? And I'd like to explain why, if that's possible.
Sure.
As it's been said more than a couple of times, the people on this list, as well as other people on this council that are not on this list, are very well qualified. When I was campaigning for the council in 2022, there were opportunities when I was going around and knocking on doors where people would ask me, oh, so which team are you on? And I've expressed that before. It really didn't make me feel good that there were some citizens that felt like there were teams out there. And there's no doubt that people understood there were teams. I don't think that was right, but that's the way it was. And there's no doubt that people felt like Mr. Bankert was on a different team than I was. I know that wasn't right for people to think that way. I try to put myself in other people's shoes, and Frank, and I'm not calling Frank to be disrespectful. I prefer to call people on this council by their first name. That means they're friends to me. I don't think we need to be that formal. Frank, as was said by Mr. Manzo, works very, very hard for this city. I feel like when I try to put myself in his shoes, that there was a time where we only had 4 people on the council. And it was fairly, right, wrong, or otherwise, obvious at that time that it was kind of a 3 against 1, which again wasn't a good thing. So I think what I'm trying to say is it may be best for our city. I know Frank would do a good job. I'd like to believe that that would pull this council closer together if Frank was the vice mayor. And really that's what it's all about. I don't say that sometimes we would vote a different way on a particular topic just because we had some issues with somebody that really didn't have anything to do with the city, good or bad. So I feel, and I've thought about this a long time, as we all know, Frank and I were voted on multiple times this past year 3 or 4 times for the seat of vice mayor. I think personally, it would be, for lack of a better term, a very nice olive branch to try to pull the council closer together with respect to Frank. I think he has good ideas. I would like to ask him that if he gets that seat, that in the future, he tries to not feel that way anymore. That he's out there on the outside looking in. That can't be a good feeling. And we need to all work together to try to fix that. So if he gets that seat, there's been a couple scenarios where maybe because of his strong belief on something, he went outward on his own, which we all know that that doesn't work best for the city. We have workshops, we discuss these things, the topics, however we think we should proceed. Personally, I mean, I would love to be the vice mayor, but I think it might be best for the city and the operation of this council for Frank to be the vice mayor. That's just my personal opinion. Thank you.
Are you withdrawing your nomination?
Only Mr. Banker puts his name back on it. No, I'm not going to withdraw. I'm not going to withdraw my nomination.
All right. Are you reconsidering?
Well, I really appreciate that. I never really felt as an outsider. I just want to say, I always felt that I pray every day for this city, okay? And I try to do what I believe God wants me to do. And like I said, I've been up here and I said, I've heard people say, oh, you're enjoying this because I had to decide and vote. I wasn't enjoying nothing. I was doing what I really felt was right. That water and sewer project, I knew it was wrong. The engineer told us it was wrong. And that's why I voted against it. And I get labeled because I did support Mr. Manzo. Mr. Manzo came to me first for his support, okay? And I think I can calm Mr. Manzo down. Last year he was on council. I think he's a brilliant man. I mean, does he rub people the wrong way? I'm not going to get into that, but I think he has a lot to offer this city. I'll put my name back on there. I don't know if I'm going to get the votes, but I really appreciate what you did. I mean, that comment. And like I said, I love this city. I only want to see the city proceed and do what's right for the citizens. That's all I ever wanted.
All right, so Frank Banker is nominated once again, and that leaves it with Lloyd Roberts, Kim Shaw Elliott, and Frank Banker. Do we have any other comments from Councilmember Shirley?
No.
All right. Let's do a roll call vote. Select one, and we'll see what happens.
Councilmember Bankard.
Bankard.
Councilmember Roberts.
Frank.
Councilmember Wellings.
Councilmember Kelly.
Councilmember Harper.
Lloyd.
I'm sorry?
Lloyd.
And Councilmember Shirley.
Mr. Roberts.
And Mayor Gaddis.
Mr. Roberts.
So that's 3 for Member Roberts, 2 for Frank Bankard, and 1 for Member Elliott.
All right, congratulations, Mr. Roberts. I also appreciate the comments you made about Mr. Bankard. And Mr. Bankard, you are appreciated. Sorry, the vote didn't go that way, but it's definitely sometimes challenging, but it's also a pleasure to work with you.
Mayor, as I understood the vote, it was 3-2-1.
That's right.
So we need 4.
That's right. And
So-
we lost one more.
Right. So you're.
What we have to do is drop Kim off and vote again.
Yes, Mayor. That's it.
Sorry about that. All right, well, let's do it again. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Bankert.
I'll still vote for myself.
Councilmember Roberts.
Mr. Bankert.
Councilmember Wellings.
Roberts.
Councilmember Harper.
Lloyd.
Councilmember Shirley.
Mr. Roberts?
And Mayor Gaddis.
Roberts. All right, so there's the majority, and again, congratulations. Mr. Roberts, I guess now I'll call you Vice Mayor Roberts. And we move on. All right, next up, item number 11. This is for consideration of appointment to the Board of Adjustments. The current alternate member, Gerald Wizawati, and I don't think he's here tonight. Is that correct?
He is not here this evening. He is out of town for the holidays.
All right, just so everyone knows, he is currently an alternate on the Board of Adjustments, and this would be for a permanent seat. Would any citizen like to comment on this potential appointment? All right, citizen comments are now closed. Council, I need a motion to appoint Mr. Wizawati to the Board of Adjustments as a full member.
Motion.
Motion is made by Frank Bankert. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Lloyd Roberts. Mr. Bankert, do you have the floor?
I believe this motion needs to be turned into a table because past precedents has set people upset that weren't here and we put them on the back agenda.
I would, you've got a motion to table, so we need to go ahead and, do we have a second to table this?
For the newer members who may be less familiar with parliamentary procedure, maybe you're well versed. The motion to table is to set this to a later date, and the reason proposed is the person's absence. So that is a vote that happens without a debate, so that's the motion.
We had one person in the past that got very upset because we did table, because they weren't there, because the meeting was postponed, not under his wishes, our wishes.
I understand. Are you speaking that the motion to table did not pass, so you're now giving your comments? The only reason why I was asked about this, and the only reason why I'm treating this one differently is because this is already a sitting member on the Board of Adjustments, just as an alternate. So it's already gone through the introduction, it's already completed all the forms, and I just try to treat this one differently because he's...
I don't debate his qualifications. I didn't debate the other person's qualifications, but we ended up losing two good people because we tabled them. And I just think that he set a precedence that we should follow.
Thank you very much. All right, so let's see. We still need the motion. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve this member?
To approve, all motion to approve.
All right, was that? All right, that was...
Jody.
Oh, okay, Jody Shirley. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, second by Harper. Any other discussion? All right. Renee, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankert.
Approve.
Councilmember Roberts.
Approve.
Councilmember Wellings.
Approve.
Councilmember Harper.
Approve.
Councilmember Shirley.
Aye.
And Mayor Gaddis.
Aye. So congratulations to Mr. Wizawati. Whenever you see him or speak with him, please let him know that he was approved. All right, we're on to item number 12. This is for consideration of appointment to the Planning and Zoning Board, Douglas Prescott. Mr. Prescott, I see you there. Would you like to come up and introduce yourself to the council again?
Hello, I'm Doug Prescott. I live at 100 Alita Drive, Bellar Beach. Want just a little history?
Sure.
Okay. I've been here 59 years. Grew up on 18th. Moved around to Oregon. I stayed in a condo. Now I've been at Alita since 1997. I served City Council, Vice Mayor, Board of Adjustments, Special Committee they put me on. They wanted to transfer from the type of mayor we had and the type of mayor we have now, and bringing a city manager. And I was chosen to select our first one and bring it to the council for approval, but it was Nancy McCollum. And we've got 3 or 4 other big things for the cities, potential projects throughout the years. So here I am.
Thank you, Mr. Prescott. Would anyone like to ask Mr. Prescott questions, comments? I'm going to go ahead and let the council know. You may recall that we brought him into the Board of Adjustments. He stepped down, and now I actually reached out to him and I said, we're shorthanded on planning and zoning members, and we're trying to get new code passed, and we need some help. Would you be interested in coming back? And what the reason why he resigned from the Board of Adjustments was he felt that it was a conflict because you currently have an appeal with a recent case, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So, and that is why you stepped down.
That's one of the reasons, and the other part was I was an alternate, and this obviously is right on, so the alternate was what, maybe once a year if I got lucky to get on there.
Okay. I appreciate you answering the call. If you don't mind, we'll have a seat, see if there's any citizen comments, and then we'll move forward. Any citizen would like to speak on this appointment? All right, citizen comments are now closed. Council, I'm going to need a motion to appoint Mr. Prescott to the Planning and Zoning Board as a full member.
Motion.
Motion is made by Frank Banker. Do I have a second?
Second. I'm
going to give that one, because of the time lag, to Councilmember Shirley. Mr. Banker, do you have the floor?
59 years as a resident, on council, vice mayor. Let's vote.
Any other questions or comments? All right, Renee, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankert?
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts?
Aye.
Councilmember Wellings?
Yes.
Councilmember Harper?
Yes.
Councilmember Shirley?
Aye.
And Mayor Gaddis?
Aye. Congratulations, Mr. Prescott, and welcome back. Thank you for serving our city. All right, we are now on to item 13, which is consideration of resolution 2024-15. Mr. Mora, would you please read the resolution along and give us a brief interpretation?
This is Resolution 2024-15, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, adopting the National Institute of Standards and Technology Cybersecurity Framework, authorizing the City Manager or designee to adopt policies and procedures as necessary to implement the framework and comply with Section 282.3185 Florida statutes, authorizing the City Manager or designee to affirm compliance with 282.3185 Florida statutes and providing an effective date. This is what some might qualify as a housekeeping measure, in as much as the Florida legislature adopted a statute a little more than a year ago, indicating that municipalities across the state have to have a cybersecurity framework in place. There are some suggested guidelines, which is what this endorses. The city's IT personnel were already familiar with this, and Kyle raised this with me just before the storm. It's something we need to get done, obviously, back, but this has to be adopted by year's end. And so it's being presented for you for adoption, and that's as much of an interpretation as I'm willing to do before we get into TikTok dances, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mora. Before we go to the council, let's go to the citizens. If anyone would like to comment on this agenda item. All right, citizen comments are now closed. Council, I need a motion to approve this resolution. Motion is made by Frank Banker. Do I have a second? All right, Wellings. Mr. Banker, you have the floor.
While this is a resolution, it's more of a housekeeping item for the state and our city, and I believe it says the resolution speaks for itself.
Thank you very much, Mr. Baker. Any other questions or comments? All right, Renee, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankert?
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts?
Aye.
Councilmember Wellings?
Yes.
Councilmember Harper?
Yes.
Councilmember Shirley?
Aye.
Mayor Gaddis?
Aye. So the resolution passes unanimously. All right, item number 14, consideration of administrative staff wages, increase of non-departmental positions. Mr. Reefer, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. So, I had a conversation with our two non-departmental positions, which is the administrative assistant and the executive assistant. They recently, last December, the administrative assistant was promoted after a previous executive assistant had left, retired. She has filled the role of executive assistant, has done a fantastic job. After she vacated the administrative assistant position, we were able to retain another employee, Miss Kathy Holt, blanking on the name right now. I'm sorry,
Thornsberry.
Thornsberry, yes. So yes, she's filled in. She's done an excellent job. She's come on board. Her minimum hiring salary at the time was $20 an hour, which we agreed to pay. But in recent staff meetings and everything that's happened with the disaster, and just talking with the development of these two staff members, our administrative assistant has taken on a lot of additional responsibilities. She's great with the customers up front. And both of them have just been doing an excellent job. And they brought to me a proposal that they would like to formally request that an increase be looked at for their salary. So they did provide me with a letter stating the reasons why they felt that they deserved an increase in pay, and also did some tabulation of local positions that are comparable to theirs, some local cities. And after reviewing the data and looking at their job descriptions with some added responsibilities, which I put in green, most notably the administrative assistant kind of branching out, taking on more responsibilities with the permitting, which has happened whether she liked it or not just recently, but also she's been taking on a lot of setting up the rentals, coordinating those, making sure everything goes through to the customer satisfaction, and really has taken on a lot as far as being the admin assistant in front, the face of the office. And then under the the executive assistant role, she trains and supervises directly the admin assistant, and I feel previously this was not a supervisor role, but I feel like she's working daily with this position, trains her directly. When I do the evaluations, all my input outside of like my general feelings of what I'm seeing, but all the details are coming from the executive assistant's review of the admin assistant. So I do believe that she does serve as that role of a supervisor of that position. So with that in consideration, I recommend that the administrative assistant position goes from an hourly wage of $20 an hour to $23 an hour, and proportionally the executive assistant salary, which was starting last year at $55,000, to the annual salary be bumped up to $62,000 annually. And I've included as attachments the pay requests, the survey data, and the job descriptions for your review.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reefer. Let's go to the citizens for comments before we discuss this. Would anyone like to speak on this topic? All right, citizen comments are now closed. Council, I need a motion to approve administrative staff wage increases of non-departmental positions.
Motion.
All right, I've got a motion made by Frank Baker, second by Lloyd Roberts. Mr. Baker, you have the floor.
I believe what the city manager has presented is a reasonable, it's a low wage, but I believe the woman will earn it. And so I think we should approve.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, Mr. Roberts.
I think there are some companies and organizations out there that identify a certain percentage of their staffing that should be rolled over. I don't think that applies to our city. We're too small. And when we lose a person because they found another job, they paid them more money, it has a pretty tough impact on our city. When you have 20 employees working in the admin area and one leaves, it's not typically that big a deal from a workload standpoint. So I think we should do every effort, which is great that you're doing, Kyle, to make sure that we establish salaries that retain our staff, especially when you're very happy with the staff and the good job that they're doing. So I think we constantly need to look at these type of things to make sure we don't have people that are cherry picking our staff away from us. The cost of trying to find somebody else, people sometimes don't take that into consideration, is not cheap. First of all, you have the person that's not there anymore. Somebody else is doing their job. They're not doing their previous job as well. So we need to do everything we can to keep our staff in place by making sure their salaries are solid. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Any other comments? Yes. Mr. Roberts.
Mr. Riefler, would you kind of give an overview of the city examples you've given here as far as which one you would pinpoint, or which cities would you pinpoint as most relative or have the same structural relationship to what we have in Bel Air Beach? I mean, I'm looking at the list here, and I would think that Clearwater, from a size perspective, would not be a relative example to what we have here, but I would think that Town of Bel Air would be a relative example as an example.
I looked at it that way too, but I also looked at it as far as the different hats that the office staff does wear. So we are small, but at the same time, we do have a lot of responsibilities that are very all-encompassing. And I believe in those two positions, and we definitely have talented people in those positions. And I want to, I think they bring up a good point. I would like to retain their talent because I think they can do a lot of different things well. But in comparison, I guess I look at something like Madeira Beach. That stands out to me as being similar. Clearwater, you're right, is rather large. But I'd say most closely Madeira Beach, Town of Bel Air.
I think what you presented here are all good examples of ranges and how different cities operate in these types of positions. I think the thing that is also not accounted for is that to run a municipality has a base cost. It doesn't matter whether it's town 2 or town 2000, it still costs the same amount of money to manage a city. So we can't negate the value of the base infrastructure and the people that we have in these roles, because to that point they could easily be shopped for a higher price point for that role in another city. So I'm completely in agreement with what your goal is here, which is to sustain and build a stronger city base.
Thank you, Mr. Harper. Any other questions or comments?
It's Jody.
Yes.
Yeah, I would just like to say, first off, I'll put names to the two people we're talking about, Kathy and Jennifer. They, when I go in the office, they seem very helpful, very supportive. It's probably one of the first times in my history with the city that I've walked into the office and felt like we have really supportive staff that is supporting their manager. And Kyle, good job on the hires. I think they're doing a good job. The comparison report, while it's interesting to see what the city of Clearwater pays their staff, city of Clearwater, they have a defined job. That their job duties are defined. City of Bel Air Beach, their job duties are whatever needs to be done that day. They are not. So it's a much different scenario. I think the salaries you presented are fair, and I would certainly support them.
Thank you, Councilmember Shirley. The only comment that I have is that the staff is great. They are very supportive. They're always ready to answer a question or to assist. I think that nothing bad about prior staff, but I think that this is one of the best staffs we have in the city right now that we've ever had. So I would hate to lose anybody that that is employed by the city of Bel Air Beach, because it's just too hard to bring them up to the caliber of what we have right now. So I would like to go ahead and take this to a vote to approve both in one swift voice vote. Everybody's good with that? All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And I didn't think so. All right. Great. And congratulations, Mr. Riefler. Next, we're on to item number 15, consideration of merit pay increase for city manager based on annual evaluation criteria. It was noted, I saw it, I thought that there was something wrong with the score. I think Councilmember Shirley, for some reason, did not vote, and her slot in the calculation that ranked everyone a 0. And so after reducing the number from 7 to 6 reviews, it actually brought Kyle's, it originally showed 4.0. I believe his actual score was 4.71. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. I updated the forms today when that was brought to my attention and recalculated both of those.
So if we decide to move forward with this, then he gets the full 5% increase. Before we discuss it any further, let's go to the citizens for comments. All right, citizen comments are closed. Council, I need a motion to approve calculated pay increase of 5% for city manager Riefler. Motion was made by Frank Baker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Who was that? Is it Harper? Okay. Mr. Baker, you have the floor.
I don't approve a 5% increase for the city manager. It is that's insulting. City managers, we took a survey. Indian Shores has an interim city manager right now, they're paying $136, way above what he's paying now, way above what a 5% increase would give him. All right? Go all the way down the line, Bel Air, Boston, Ross Beach, Madeira Beach, Oldsmar, Safety Harbor, Seminole. We have to give him 50% increase just to match these rates. This man has proven in 1 year that he is the jewel of this city. And we need to reward him for the safety procedures he performed during the storm. He slept here, I heard, over a week. He's a salary employee. I'm not sure if we're in violation of the minimum wage act with all the hours he puts in. I really believe so, okay? 5% is an insult. This man deserves at least 15% what we just gave the other person.
All right, thank you.
And that is an insult.
All right. Would anyone else like to speak on this topic? Mr. Organ.
I think that Kyle could not have been a better choice for a city manager. And it was a long and arduous process to get him on board and get him where he belongs. And I think that he stood the test of time, and I think he stood above the rest as far as what he does. I agree with the 5%. I also agree with the idea of putting in a significant merit bonus for the work he's done with us on the storms and the work he's done this past year, above and beyond his current exempt salary duties. But I do not disagree with what Councilmember Baker is saying about the valuation and the whole administrative assistant and that whole conversation we just had. We've got to be at market value to have valuation of our resources so that there is not the possibility of having to go through the replacement process. So I want to keep Kyle. So I'd say we do what we need to do to keep Kyle.
All right. Do I see a hand from Councilmember Shirley?
Yes, a couple things. I wasn't part of the budget process, nor did I observe Kyle's work daily. So it was really difficult for me to, with a clear conscience, fill out a evaluation. Although I think he does a great job, I didn't observe most of the things they were asking for in this evaluation, which is why I chose not to participate in the evaluation. But I do have a question. What happened in budgeting? What did you guys decide in budgeting? I'm sure there was some conversation about this, and what was budgeted for an increase for the city manager?
Mr. Reefer?
Standard 5% is what we're budgeting.
So I don't know how we could do anything outside of that. I'll just leave it. That was my question.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, Mr. Roberts.
What does the 5% increase take your salary to? If you don't mind me asking, that's public information. Yeah.
$131,775.
131, okay.
7,000 below the interim and insurers.
But if you don't vote for it, if you don't put it in the budget, you can't just haphazardly get money.
There is other areas in that budget that we saved money. Okay, we saved over $40,000 just in the police this year. I think this man deserves another bump. And that's still being reviewed. We may even save even more money. This man put his life on the line, and Aaron put his life on the line. We could lose possibly 2 people if we don't take care of these people. And the tedious process that you were through when we were looking for a city manager, we were willing to pay $50,000 more above his increase if we give him 5%. So where's that savings going?
Not all of us, but anyway, I'll just leave it at that.
Mr. Baker, you are more than welcome to make a motion to amend or adjust this rate.
I make a motion amended to 10%.
All right. Would anyone like to second that?
I have a quote. Do we have the money in the budget? Do we have to do a transfer? How would that be handled?
It would have to be a budget amendment for my city manager budget, just because there's limited items.
Before we finish the motion.
Okay, right now we're looking for a second on this motion. Would anyone like to second?
Look over me, but you missed it when you were talking, but anyway, that's fine.
All right. All right, the motion dies, and now we're back to the original motion. Any other debate or conversation about this motion?
Yeah, I agree with what the intent and what you're talking about, Frank, Mr. Baker. And I like your idea of, since we didn't budget it this year and we have saved some money, could we consider like a merit bonus one time to cover this year and stay within the budget, do the 5% increase, and then address it going forward in the budget process so we can make it more permanent in salary?
I would entertain that idea. However, I don't think it's something we're prepared to do tonight. So this covers the base salary, and then during our next work session, we can discuss a possible merit bonus.
On merit bonus, on the record, I brought that up about some of our employees. The city attorney said we cannot do that under state law. I disagree with them. I gave them a couple of different scenarios, but and I think it can be done. But the man deserves. Well, look, you guys want to be cheap about it, and we lose him. Fine, all right. And this is why probably I'm not vice mayor, because I won't put up with bullshit like this. And this man deserves everything that this city. Give him the 5%. It's disgusting.
I just wish to clarify my advice. In the past, I've opined with reference to Florida Statute 215-425, extra compensation claims prohibited, bonus and severance pay, that as a general proposition, no extra compensation should be made to any officer, agent, employee, or contractor after the service has been rendered and the contract made. However, there are other provisions that set forth how you can do that if you have a policy in place on how someone can achieve a merit bonus. At the times that we've discussed that, we have not had that in place or have not yet since established that. So it's not an absolute, it can't be done. You've all seen news articles in the last year on how some bonuses got paid and became very problematic for other communities. So it's a prudence thing that way. I would suggest to make it clean that you're presently talking about a salary increase and you stick to that to limit any other issues being created by this.
Just a note, I mean, with the bonus and all this, when Hurricane Debbie was coming up and it looked like it was going to flood this area, this man on a Sunday morning at 7 o'clock was out there in the well out here, okay, right at the park, putting sandbags in holes so it wouldn't flood the neighborhood. And I know he was in there because I was handing him the sandbags, all right? So I don't know what else you want from this guy. I mean, to give him a 10% raise is still an insult. And if we have to do a budget amendment, then so well do it. But you want to be cheap about it? I'd look for another job, Kyle. I hate to lose you, but I would look for another job.
All right, there's a motion on the table. If there's no more comments, then I would like to go ahead and vote on this. All right, Renee, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankard.
Reluctantly, aye.
Councilmember Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Wellings.
Aye.
Councilmember Harper.
Yes.
Councilmember Shirley.
Aye.
And Mayor Gaddis.
Aye. So it's approved unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Riefler. I'm going to make one final comment about this. I think that we actually need to review the review process. I felt like it wasn't even applicable. Certain questions were not even applicable, especially whenever we're using the same criteria for the city clerk as we are with the city manager. So I just wanted to bring that out. All right, now we're moving on to item number 16, consideration of merit pay increase for city clerk based on annual evaluation criteria. Originally, she scored a 3.7 because Councilmember Shirley did not vote, but in all actuality, it's 4.35, which entitles her to a 5% increase. Let's go to the citizens for comments. None on this topic, so citizen comments are now closed. Council, I need a motion to approve the calculated pay increase of 5% for city clerk Rose.
Motion.
Motion is made by Frank Baker. Second? Second by Lloyd Roberts. All right, Mr. Baker, you have the floor.
I'm going to pass these out. These are current city clerk rates. Once again, as a premier city, we're underpaying the city clerk like we're underpaying our city manager. A year ago, Patty Gentry left. No one thought we could find the shoes of someone to fill her shoes. You've done an excellent job. I can't find the words to compliment you. Every task that you had to find, and you didn't come from this state, okay, so you had a mountain worth of material to digest, and you've done that admirably. You deserve at least 10%. Okay? Will these cheap bastards give it to you? I don't know. But that's exactly well put.
Mr. Frank, I'm going to ask you.
Well, I'm going to
refrain
tell you
from
the facts of life.
From the profanity, all right?
Right?
All right, other comments? No? All right, well, let's take it to a vote then. Renee?
Councilmember Bankard.
Reluctantly, yes.
Councilmember Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Wellings.
Aye.
Councilmember Harper.
Aye.
Councilmember Shirley. Councilmember Shirley.
I see her.
Did we lose her? Oh, you know what? She's working with her.
I'm back,
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
I'd go take care of something.
Okay, so right now we are voting to approve the merit pay increase for the city clerk. It's You're up.
Yes.
All right.
And Mayor Gaddis.
Yes, approved, and congratulations, Ms. Rose. Again, I think that we should change the review process entirely. I will add also that there's nothing preventing the city manager from increasing the pay in the budget whenever we're voting on the budget. Just didn't do it. If there was more in the budget, then we would have had something that we could have approved and moved forward. So
You can always make a budget amendment.
yes, I agree. So anyway, congratulations, Ms. Rose, and excellent job. Just like what Mr. Banker said, you stepped right into the role. You have really not needed much help. You grabbed the bull by the horns and have done a great job. And I'm glad that you're here. It's a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you.
All right, number 17, unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? No? All right. Let's see. The only thing that I had on here was about the review in the code, and we know that that's going to happen. Do we now have a quorum?
Yes, we should be able to reach 4 members.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm looking forward to that, and we'll get that done and move on. Now we're to number 18, which is city council comments. We're going to start with council member Shirley.
Okay, I don't really have anything more to add. I'm sorry I wasn't there this evening. Just a few family issues I had to respond to and be here for my mom, who just had surgery today. So please excuse my absence.
We're just glad that you're here remotely. Thank you very much. All right, next up is Councilmember Roberts.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank everybody for your support for the vice mayor position. I will do everything possible to represent this seat the way it should be. I'm sure along the way I may have an opportunity to make some mistakes, and if I do, I'll be looking to our legal counsel to get me through those. Thank you.
Is it too late to vote again? All right, next up is Councilmember Banker.
Well, I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. I've just experienced Ebenezer Scrooge mentality when it comes to paying these people that work for the city of Bel Air Beach. I apologize on behalf of the city because I believe you had citizens comment where you guys all deserve a lot more. Thank yous don't pay the bill at Publix. It doesn't pay your bills. I don't want to lose either one of you, but I'd be looking. God bless you.
Councilmember Welling.
Yes, this is my first live meeting, a recent member addition to the council. And I want to thank you, everybody, for endorsing me and joining the council. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Hope I can do it justice. Just a comment about, I feel like I definitely support Kyle and the city clerk. I definitely agree we need to give them more. I just want to do it in a process way. I would like to, and I think we should try to address it earlier, right? And we will. So I don't think how we had to vote today reflects how we feel about it and what we want to do. Like, I feel like we're going to maybe work hard on the work section and let's just do it, right? Let's figure out, let's do it. If we do a budget amendment, I didn't know, I'm new to this process. So if we can go do a budget amendment, let's go do it. Let's have that discussion and just meet offline. Just meet in a working session and let's work it and make it happen.
Thank you, Mr. Welling. Mr. Harper, you're up.
Well, first of all, happy holidays, everyone. I am thankful for being here. Am I not on? No, I'm on. I'm thankful to everyone for the hard work that's transpired in the past month. It is miraculous to see where we were a month ago and where we are today, as far as just the outcomes and the results and people working really hard to get back to a normal life. I agree when we go back to the whole process of city management and the idea of keeping our employees. I think it's a tremendous asset that the people are the asset and the value of the city. But I also agree with Councilman Shirley, which is that there's a budgeting process that has to be followed as well. So I think as long as we account for and make sure that we are valuing our employees and we are taking that into account. But I found the same thing in doing the evaluations. I found the forms to be a little cumbersome, and I found them to be a little bit generic as far as what they offered, as far as the ability to offer responses. So I responded the way I felt, which is having worked with both of them. I felt that the responses that I gave were valid, regardless of some of the questions. But the idea really is that this should be a planned process, and I think I'd like to move forward with the idea of having regularly scheduled working sessions and workshops to work through the items that we bring forward in council meetings, because we can't rectify everything that's brought up in a meeting. The working sessions are very important for that.
Right. All right. Thank you for those comments. My comments are directed towards City Manager Riefler. I appreciate you and your staff. Mr. Baker's already brought this up, but it's just amazing how you and your staff have worked tirelessly, first and foremost, just to clean the city up. If you drive down, as soon as you leave the city limits and you're in Indian Rocks Beach, it is completely different. It's not clean. People driving through our city right now may not even realize that a storm happened. And that's because of you and your contacts and the companies that you have reached out to and employed. It's just an absolute great job. And I'd also like to commend you on finding more resources to help everyone get back on their feet. The substantial damage reports are not coming fast enough. I realize it's not your fault. Unfortunately, I feel like the county is letting us down. And I think as we work through this process, I would like this council to work with the city manager to review our building services and look towards maybe a private company to handle our building services instead of Pinellas County. I think that they have exposed a lot of holes in their entire organization. This storm actually revealed many things. They look pretty good on the outside, but whenever you have something like what's happened to us and other communities, that they're going to take care of themselves first, and we need somebody who's going to take care of us first if anything like this ever happens again. So I'm looking forward to having those conversations, and hopefully if another storm ever happens, God forbid, we're far more prepared because we have better support than what we currently have. So again, I commend you for everything that you're doing, and it's great working with you and with Renee, and hopefully we can work through this budget issue, and we'll see what happens. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
I'm going to give it as a tie. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, let's go home, everyone.